What opinion or behavior would stop you being romantically interested in someone even if they ticked every other box? Part 2. Minimizing my accomplishments. I knew this woman. And if I said something like, I got a promotion at work, instead of saying that it was great and that I was great at my job, she'd say something like, yeah, well, didn't you say Bill has really been helping you out with stuff? Or if I said, I finally beat an Iron Man run of XCOM 2, she'd say, I wish you'd find a more productive hobby. I had an ex who consistently lied and omitted things. Usually not about anything huge. But she had a habit of it and didn't seem to think it was wrong. The longer we dated, the worse it got. Eventually it really divided us because I couldn't trust anything she said. From then on, if I discovered I was with someone who lied often as a tactic to get what they want, to avoid consequences, etc., that was pretty much the end of the relationship for me. Dishonesty. If you notice the person you're interested in tells fibs or little white lies early on, it's only going to be catastrophic once you clear the honeymoon phase. The one that surprised me, about myself, was a whiny voice. Person had everything else going for them. But after a few hours I just couldn't stand the thought of listening to that voice over the long haul. Bad hygiene. Being too clingy too quickly. Had a girl tell me she loved me after 4 hours of talking, asking why I'm not responding, etc. It was an absolute no. I used to live in an apt complex. My neighbor was single F with a 5 year. I was single. We started socializing, hanging out, going places together. Hooked up a couple times and the sex was okay. A good friend of mine sent me a set of 2 dolls, boy and girl, that his kid made in art class for me and wanted me to have. The next time the neighbor in question came in my house, the first thing she said is, "What are those 2 little Nick babies doing on your bookshelf?" It took me a second to realize she was talking about the dolls. My friend and his family are black, so the dolls were black. Flabbergasted so bad I couldn't speak and simply asked her to leave because I was not feeling well. Only spoke to her a couple times after that. I do miss the kid, she was a sweetie. So racism is my trigger. Race bigotry. Definitions are hard, winky face. You don't have to love everybody, but don't hate a stranger because they are different. If they're too selfish. Colorism. I can't count on both hands how many black men I have talked to and really liked until they started on their tangents about dark-skinned women. It's immediately a turn off and I take it quite personally even though I am mixed. They somehow think I'll agree with their ridiculous ideology when my grandmother, aunts, uncle, and father are dark-skinned. Being rude to retail/service workers. Animal/pet abuse. Those pieces of shit who think it's okay to abuse animals. I'm not talking hunting, I'm talking kicking their dog or not caring for it at all. Not feeding it. Or even leaving it outside in the winter, especially with breeds that can't. Edit. It's okay if you don't like animals, just don't be cruel to them. Rude to servers/waitstaff/grocery clerks. Racism. I've turned away a few dimes in my day because of their shitty attitude towards other races. I don't have time to harbor your misplaced anger. And we are all humans. Keep that shitty behavior away from me. Not being accepting of gay people. Even if you are straight. Why do you care what gay people do? Let them be happy. Mistreating/making fun of homeless people. I was talking to this guy on an app and he asked me if I had any odd hobbies. I told him I like to just people watch, make stories about who they are, whatever. Asked him. And he said, I like to chase people, strangers, at night. In my car. It's funny when they get scared. Immediately told him it wasn't going to work out. Fucking picking your nose and eating your nasal residue in front of me. She said the N-word, LOL. The best part was, not 5 minutes before, she had been ranting at me that the C-word is the worst word you can call a person. It's degrading to half the population. When I called her out on her N-word use immediately after, she said my black friends in high school let me say it to my fucking face. There were many other things she did that turned me off to her, but this was the biggest one. S/O to my ex huge cunt. Unsolicited dick pics. Opinion, that people who are poor just don't work enough and that they are lazy. That's bullshit. I'm done talking to you. Dudes who try to bring me up by putting down other women. It's a shitty method of complimenting someone when you think they'll be pleased with your negative opinions about other people. I get pegged somewhat often as a not like other girls type because of the way I dress and some of my interests. There's a certain type of person who thinks that means I want to put down traditionally feminine girls with traditionally feminine interests. But that's the quickest way to get me to lose your number permanently. Acting like my mom. Not being maternal, though I'm a gay man so that would throw me off for other reasons LMFAO. But just acting like my mom does/did, controlling narcissistic gaslighting verbal abuse. I just don't like my mom, and my parents' relationship is why I have so many reservations about dating and marriage and starting a family. My mom is definitely mentally unwell and I have no problem being with someone with a mental illness. But when they refuse to get help and make their problems the problems of everyone around them, that's when I peace out. Not believing in space. I met someone who didn't believe in space. Outer space. Inner space. Kuiper belt. Nope. None of it. I asked what he thought was out there and he said nothing. It's God. He thought it was a conspiracy and just the government lying. It was mind-boggling. I honestly didn't hear anything after that. My brain just started tuning him out. Not believing in the basics of science or going hard for wellness over modern medicine. I have a degree in biology and I also have several chronic illnesses. I had a Bumble date tell me one time that I needed to just go use a Rife machine instead of taking the meds my body needs to function normally. My opinion of them completely changed in one sentence. I dumped a guy once because he said gay conversion therapy was a good idea. It wasn't the only thing wrong with him, but it was defiantly a deal breaker. Arrogance. Dated a guy who was super awesome. One day, I asked him a vehicle question and holy shit, he got super arrogant and condescending when he responded. Immediately turned off. Smoking. Everything smells. Breath. Hair. Clothes. Car. Ugh. Being straight would be a big turn off for me, considering I'm gay. Trying to take me down with them. To elaborate. Constantly complaining about mental health issues and depression. Of course. I will always try to help and I will always listen. But if I end up getting myself more depressed being in a relationship, I'd rather avoid it. Being violent with dogs. Was crushing on this girl from work and she went to show me her dog on Zoom. When it didn't come immediately, she grabbed it violently and I heard it whimper. Got an instant reverse boner. If they're one of those people who when you're arguing you can tell they're not even listening to you and instead just plotting what they're going to say in rebuttal. Excessive alcohol consumption. I quite enjoy a few beers or glasses of wine myself. But if your idea of fun is literally just getting drunk, we won't get along for long. I dated a really great girl in high school. Cute. Sweet as could be. Big-hearted. But she and her family were just really into Jesus. And I'm most definitely not, and so we dated for a very long time but never clicked on that deeply personal level that we both wanted. And so went our separate way on good terms, aided by her moving off for school. Being disrespectful to someone that is working low-paying customer service job. A job is a fucking job. They are not beneath you. They have feelings just like you do. We are all trying to make it in this world. Thinking housework is women's work. Being superficial. Not being a critical thinker. I've thought of a whole laundry list of things that would be deal breakers, but they all boil down to whether or not he could think critically. Littering. Bad table manners, especially speaking with your mouth filled with food you just chewed. And disrespectful to family and friends. Egotistical. Huge turn off. Entitled behavior. People who act like the world owes them everything when they were raised with more than most people. People who demand respect but treat others poorly. Not having a capacity for compassion or empathy for others, including animals. Short version asterisk how come you don't express yourself? Backslash proceeds to express myself backslash you're being too emotional. Fuck outta here with that shit. And hashtag X200B. Longer version asterisk I was dating a girl who said I didn't share my emotions enough and would complain that I was too stoic and reserved. I understood where she was coming from, so I started trying to open up more. One of the things I opened up about was an abusive ex that had gotten married recently and how I was dealing with a lot of unpleasant memories as a result. Her response was, "That's a lot of baggage, I don't like hearing about that kind of stuff. You just shouldn't let it affect you." Yeah. That ended things real fucking quick. If the person you are dating makes you feel small, not in a physical sense but like you're less than them, I've learned that's my first sign to book it out of there. Puts me down. Being obsessed with social media or needing to document everything all the time and project a perfect version of their life. Being condescending. I hate it. It makes me angry. Be nice to people. Except they may not be as knowledgeable as you on a subject. Don't condescend. Thanks for watching.